Olá, olá, olá. Olá a todos. Oi, Pati.
E aí, tudo bom? Boa noite. Good evening, everyone.
Olá, olá a todos. Olá, gente. Bem-vindos. Vamos dar uns 2 minutinhos para todo mundo conseguir entrar, depois a gente já começa. Se vocês quiserem ir colocando no chat de onde vocês estão falando, de que cidade, não sei de onde estão, se estão em Brasil, em México, podem poner el chat de onde estão hablando, de onde estão. Buenos Aires, México. Uau, Brasília. Uau, agora estou nerviosa. México, Buenos Aires, São Paulo, Brasília.
Tá ótima no espanhol, hein, Paula?
Oh, gostou? Morei em Barcelona um
Adorei.
tempo.
Sensacional.
Bulgária. Bem-vindo, Bulgária. Mais Chile, Bolívia. Uau, uau, uau.
Tem Honduras, ó.
Peru, Honduras. ¿Puedo empezar o tenemos mucho más personas?
Podemos empezar.
Sí, vamos.
Ok, gracias. Ok, então, bem-vindo. Ah, não, vou começar em português, na verdade. Para quem não me conhece, meu nome é Paula Vasone. Eu vou fazer uma introdução rápida em português, depois em espanhol. Vou tentar falar devagar também, para quem fala espanhol me entender. E aí depois a gente já vai entrar num conteúdo super, super legal hoje, pessoal. Então, primeiramente, bem-vindos ao nosso Virtual Open House. Hoje nós vamos focar nas experiências internacionais, especialmente nesses tempos malucos, e a gente vai ver isso por 3 perspectivas diferentes. Então, pela perspectiva dos professores que estão dando essas aulas internacionais, a perspectiva dos alunos que estão recebendo essas aulas e fazendo. Então, pode ter pessoas numa mesma aula de Miami Art School, Punta Cana, Buenos Aires, São Paulo, Rio, Mexico City, enfim, realmente uma experiência internacional. E, por último, da experiência de agência internacional, que é o Tchê, que vai falar mais para o final da nossa live. Eu queria falar um pouquinho sobre mim, para vocês entenderem por que eu estou aqui hoje moderando ou sendo anfitriã dessa live, eu que vou conduzir as perguntas para todos os nossos entrevistados. Alguns já estão aí com a câmera ligada. Então, como eu falei, meu nome é Paula Vasone, eu sou ex-aluna da Miami, eu fiz de 2012 a 2014, eu fiz o programa de foto e vídeo digital nos Estados Unidos. E para quem não sabe nada sobre a Miami Art School, a gente fala muito sobre o life-changing experience. E eu posso dizer com certeza que assim mudou a minha vida em todos os sentidos, não só de trabalho, mas também pessoalmente, porque eu conheci o meu marido, que era aluno de direção de arte, no primeiro dia de aula, e hoje estamos juntos até hoje, a gente tem uma filha. Então a escola mudou minha vida em todos os sentidos, pessoal e profissional. Então, agora que vocês sabem um pouco mais sobre mim, eu vou falar agora, então, repetir um pouquinho disso. Não, mais uma coisa importante falar para vocês. A gente está gravando aqui hoje, tá? E depois vai ser disponibilizado no YouTube para quem quiser reassistir ou compartilhar com as pessoas, enfim. A outra coisa importante é que a gente está com as câmeras de vocês desligados e vamos pedir para vocês deixarem no mudo. para que a nossa conexão fique o mais estável possível, já que a gente tem bastante pessoas que estão aí com as câmeras ligadas, que vão ser entrevistadas, tá bom? E a última notícia mais prática é que a Michelle Pavão, que é a Head of Communications aqui da Miami, São Paulo e Rio, está disponível para responder qualquer dúvida que vocês tenham no chat. A gente vai tentar responder durante a live, mas caso, enfim, ela vai juntar umas perguntas e tal, se vocês quiserem, quer dar um oi aí, Mi, para o pessoal saber quem você é?
Oi, gente, meu nome é Michele, eu sou do time de comunicação aqui de São Paulo, então eu vou ajudar a Paula aqui a selecionar as perguntas que ela vai responder. Olá a todos que não são brasileiros, meu nome é Michele e vou ajudar a Paula a responder a todas as questões que tenham acerca das coisas da escola, ¿ok? Besos.
Gracias, Mi. Ok, entonces ahora un poco en español. Español no es mi primera lengua, pero intentar. Entonces, el primero Open House, donde vamos a hablar más específicamente de las experiencias y perspectivas, otras visiones. Vamos a hablar con los profesores de estas clases internacionales que, como he dicho en portugués, son 5 escuelas que están juntas, entonces es una experiencia súper challenging, como se dice, desafiadora, pero muy, muy rica. Esto que vamos a hablar hoy con todas las personas. Y también de la perspectiva de los alumnos y después de la experiencia internacional de agencia. Yo soy a Paula, exalumna, soy fotógrafa, hago filmes, tengo un podcast, entonces Miami Ad School es una experiencia que me ha dado todo lo que necesito, que siento que necesito para hacer todos los trabajos creativos que hoy intento hacer. ¿Qué más? Así, las cosas prácticas. Vamos a grabar todo aquí, que va a estar en YouTube. Câmeras desligadas, por favor. Ivan, tudo bom? Vou começar lendo o nosso primeiro entrevistado hoje, vai ser o Ivan Azevedo, que já está aqui com a câmera ligada. Bem-vindo.
Oi, Paula, tudo bem?
Tudo ótimo, bem-vindo.
Obrigado.
Eu vou dar uma lida rápida na sua biografia, porque aqui eu só recebi biografias impressionantes. Eu vou ter que dar uma resumida em todas. Então, você é ex-aluno da Miami de São Paulo, né? Você fez o programa de redação. O Ivan tem mais de 10 anos de experiência em mercados diferentes. São Paulo, Moscou, Boulder, no Colorado, nos Estados Unidos, Nova York. Já trabalhou com clientes como Coca-Cola, Burger King, Booking.com, Samsung, Verizon, enfim. Podemos ir aqui por muito tempo. E já ganhou 13 leões em Cannes, com o Proud Whopper Case, o case do Proud Whopper da Burger King. E pelo que eu tô vendo aqui, tem uma cachorra ou um cachorro chamado Pipa.
Uma cadelinha, isso. Cachorrinha.
Uma cadelinha, E a nossa escola é dog friendly, né? Legal a gente lembrar isso, que a nossa escola aceita cachorros quando pudermos voltar para aulas presenciais. Então, acho que a primeira coisa que eu queria perguntar para você é como que foi essa trajetória, porque hoje em dia você está em Singapura, mas você pode me contar um pouco mais sobre você. Me leva um pouquinho pela essa sua trajetória de fazer esses programas do Quarterway da Miami, de estudar fora ou de trabalhar fora, e mais ou menos onde você chegou até agora. Me dá um apanhado dessa trajetória, por favor.
Claro, nossa, foi uma longa jornada, né? Parece que foi ontem, mas já faz, como você falou, mais de 10 anos já. Muito legal essa história também, então obrigado por dividir, por compartilhar. Acho que a Miami realmente tem isso de você criar amigos para a vida toda, às vezes conhece, enfim, parceiros que você vai levar para sempre. Às vezes até cachorrinhos também que você conhece no caminho. No meu caso, eu não tinha Pipa ainda, mas quem dera, ia ser muito legal ter levado ela comigo nas aulas também. Mas então, como você falou, eu me juntei a Miami acho que meio de 2009, na verdade. enfim, eu fiz 2 anos enfim, da escola, ali pelo fim, quando os quarterways estavam available, né, disponíveis, aí eu comecei a, obviamente, tomar enfim, essa oportunidade, que eu acho que é, assim, riquíssima. Para roubar é uma palavra que você usou, é incrível, e realmente só amanhã me oferece isso. Então, eu acho que isso é uma coisa que é única e que você tem que tomar a oportunidade, tendo ela, né, você tem que aproveitar. No meu caso, eu fui, como você falou um pouquinho, eu fui para o meu primeiro quarterway, uma loucura, eu fui para Sati em Moscou. Eu sempre quis muito ter, assim, essas experiências culturais diferentes, então, como tinha essa possibilidade, eu falei, nossa, é isso, vamos ver como que é essa experiência, como que é morar em Moscou, na Rússia. Foi logo perto do inverno, não era total inverno ainda, foi em outubro quando eu cheguei, quando eu saí já estava no ápice do inverno lá, então bem desafiador. Tô vendo que tem alguém...
Muita vodka para aguentar o frio, né?
Pois é, muita vodka, exatamente. Tem alguém mandando aqui chat em russo. Meu russo é bem enferrujado, então não vou nem responder, Roberto. Mas é legal ver que tem essa conexão aí. E logo depois daí, assim, só para fazer uma jornadinha rápida, eu fui para Hamburgo, na verdade, fazer meu portfólio na Miami School de Hamburgo, então também tem essa conexão. Obviamente é uma grande network, né, de escolas, então São Paulo, Buenos Aires, Hamburgo, Singapura, Nova York, seja tudo conectado. Então eu fui para Hamburgo fazer meu portfólio e aí depois eu fui fazer meu último quarter na Crispin Porter Bogusky em Boulder, no Colorado, no meio dos Estados Unidos, você conhece bem também. E lá eu acabei sendo contratado, então isso é essa ponte que é maravilhosa com o mercado, né, que a gente sempre fala. E no meu caso, assim, foi assim, bem limpa essa conexão, né? Então eu fui fazer meu último quarter, tive essa oportunidade, fiz um trabalho legal, eles gostaram, fiquei lá por quase 2 anos. Antes de voltar um pouquinho para casa também, onde eu trabalhei na David, cuidando de Burger King, como você falou. Fiquei por quase 4 anos lá. E aí, mais recentemente, se você pode falar recentemente, porque já vão 5 anos aí, mas eu voltei para os Estados Unidos, para Nova York dessa vez, RGA. Fiquei quase 2 anos lá, e aí mais recentemente na Nomad em Nova York, onde eu fiquei por 2 anos e meio, 2 anos e 8 meses, antes de fazer essa outra, sabe, esse pulo louco de atravessar o mundo e ir para o outro lado, agora para Singapura.
Você está em Singapura.
Exatamente. Na Forsman e Bodenfors, que é uma agência sueca em Singapura, parece um trocadilho, mas um trocadilho, um tongue twister, né? Um trava-língua, essa é a palavra certa, mas não é. E, enfim, tô por aqui agora. Tem uns alunos mandando mensagem aqui também, legal que tem ex-alunos aqui na live, acho que a Laís está aqui, eu vi o William também, então, pô, legal ver que
são
tá
ex-alunos seus?
Sim, exato.
Legal. Então, acho que vamos entrar no tema da sua aula, porque talvez aqui, pode ser que quem esteja aqui na live já conheça um pouco sobre a Miami, pode ter pessoas que não conhecem nada, então explica um pouquinho para mim, assim, peraí que eu só tô vendo o chat, que alguém tá pedindo para eu falar espanhol. Pessoal, eu tô falando muito rápido, querem que eu fale mais devagar? Eu falo muito rápido. Falar mais devagar, então.
Não, é que o pessoal em espanhol não está entendendo o Ivan. Então, se o Ivan puder falar um pouco despacio, é melhor.
A minha velocidade tá boa?
A minha que tá ruim, eu acho.
Bom, vão avisando, pessoal. Tá bom. Obrigada por avisar, gente. Quem for entrando, vocês estão falando também, assim a gente sabe de onde vocês estão. Então, eu queria que você contasse, por favor, do tema da sua experiência internacional, de dar realmente aula, assim, para talvez pessoas que estão em 4 países diferentes. Então, me leva um pouquinho nessa jornada, assim, qual é o tema da sua aula,
sim.
o que vocês aprendem?
Então, o tema da minha aula em particular é campanha integrada, Integrated Campaign. Estão pedindo inglês aqui, estão puxando, eu não sei se...
Posso
que
trocar,
acham?
Mi?
Eu acho que sim, porque os meninos não estão entendendo. Acho melhor.
Okay, that's fine. We can switch to English.
Perfect,
so just to go back on the question that I was, the most recent question, I was asking Ivan about what the theme of his class is. So what is the title of the class? what they learn in his class and sort of what students can look forward to in this international experience where they have, you know, you can have students from 4 different countries in the same class, all working remotely. Yeah. It sounds crazy fun. So tell us a little bit about it.
And it is, it's a lot of fun. So my class in particular is integrated campaign. So the purpose of the class, of course, is to talk a little bit about what makes an idea, you know, big enough to be integratable, to connect multiple media and touch points. And that's what we're gonna talk about, the difference between integrated campaign and 360 campaigns a little bit as well. Coming up with that big idea that is required to be able to really, you know, connect all these different touch points that we're gonna be able to do with this in this campaign and in this discipline. So that's the goal that we have in the class. In terms of the experience, as we were talking a little bit before, Paula, it's a lot of fun. First and foremost, I think that's essential when we're creating and thinking of ideas.
So you had students from all 4 or 5 schools.
Yeah, so it was 5 schools, I guess, because you have São Paulo and Rio as distinct schools, but of course all from Brazil. Yeah. Then we have Punta Cana, but a lot of kids from Santo Domingo as well, Buenos Aires, and then Mexico City. So that was the pool, and it was really fun. I think it depends on the classes. In my case, I wanted to mix everybody up, so the groups. I think they included people from all these different classes. So it was pretty diverse in that sense in terms of thinking as well. So I think not only do you get access to these experiences and this backgrounds, to these cultural backgrounds that are so distinct, but you also get to, you know, share your thoughts with people who can add to it, can complement, can challenge it sometimes as well, which is super essential. And, you know, it's not only from the little things like being able to practice your English, which is so essential if you want to make, you know, and have a career, international career, which Miami allows for in the future, then that's obviously a great starting point. And then, yeah, just being able to make friends who are in different places around the world as well. That is just that super solid network that you can bring with you wherever you go in the future.
Yeah, and maybe even work together in the future, because
for sure,
sometimes the advertising world can get a little small and then you can run into each other or hire someone, or yeah, the possibilities are endless. That's so from your perspective as a teacher, how is it like to teach this international class? Like, because I kind of remember from my experience at the ad school when we started, there were kids in my year that were from Egypt and Brazil and so many different places. Yeah. And there were a lot of things that we were sometimes confronted with, like something that was accepted in Egypt is not so accepted. And so how is this cultural, you know, melting pot with all the students?
Yeah. No, I think it's fascinating, and it brings up discussions that, to your point, like if you're focused on one market, maybe they wouldn't appear. But I think that's what makes it rich, really, and interesting and exciting. In terms of, I think what's interesting as well is to try and you know, unearth and even you know, make sure that potential, that uniqueness that everybody brings to the table individually can really be enhanced and come out and become an idea in itself as well. So a lot of the work that we do when I was teaching specifically in São Paulo and Rio, then we're talking about the market in Brazil specifically. But then when we go and we're marrying people who are from, you know, São Paulo, Mexico City, Dominican Republic, I think it's interesting to have ideas as well that maybe are super particular to Mexico, for example.
One market, yeah.
Yeah, one market. I don't want to shut that off. And I think actually that's really interesting if we can somehow tap into like icons in Mexico that maybe people in Brazil don't know, or a specific cultural norm in the Dominican Republic, etc. So I think all of these can be sources of great ideas. And it shouldn't be about normalizing. So that's very important, I think. And I don't think we do that in Miami at school. It's instead of normalizing and going, okay, then if we're all from different places, let's just go take a top level international kind of approach to it. No, right the opposite. We're actually going to go and try to find that beautiful specific and bring it out and make that a source of a great idea in itself. I think more and more, when you look at great work coming out, award shows as well, like we're celebrating those individualities. And I think it needs to start from the school, and that's what we're going to do in our classes as well. So
no, to your point, I was just thinking about awards. I'm at school wins so many awards, and most of the times when I see the award-winning work that the school wins, it's usually like the very specific work to a specific market or with some sort of cultural references, rather than something like you said, very just that would work, something too general, let's say.
Yeah, I think that's the interest. We're always, in this industry, we tell stories basically, and we love hearing stories as well, and different stories. So I think when we're talking about like this international quarter, in a way, that's a big benefit of it as well. Just being, having the opportunity to come in contact and across these very different stories to your upbringing and your background. And again, to your point, as teachers and as a school, being able to make them the focal point of something bigger and a great idea is what is the goal, I guess, for us.
Cool. So now I want to ask you about, because I think it's always interesting to speak to someone who has been on both ends, who has been a student and then teaches or is, working, to kind of see it from both ends. So in your experience, what skills do you think students should learn or consider learning to get ready for an international career? Because that's a challenge in itself. Let's not even talk about visas and all that stuff, just, know.
For sure. I think it's from the basic skills that we all learn in Miami at school. So from finding great insights, being able to distinguish a great solid insight from maybe something that's a little bit more generic, to then turning that into an idea, something that has a twist of some sort, has a cleverness in itself, and then crafting that idea and showing that craft in your book. So that process is what we go through, through all the disciplines in Miami at school, maybe individually each one of the disciplines as well. But that's the basics, I think, that every great creative should have if they're looking for jobs outside. Besides that as well, is obviously having a good level of English, which I think from people from, just the polls that we got here, I think everybody's pretty comfortable with it, but it's good to kind of keep, developing it always, because that's just the universal language now, at least in our industry, it very much is, and it opens a lot of doors. So that's definitely a great skill. And then being able, and I guess that speaks to the international course itself, is being able to collaborate with people who are very different and in an industry that's more and more diverse as years go by. And it's going to keep becoming more and more diverse and bringing and pulling in different stories like we just talked about. So being able to assimilate those stories and do something about them, even if they don't directly speak to you, having that open mind and just being able to be part of a team that is very distinct and diverse, and that's one of the benefits I think that we have in the international course.
Yeah, for sure, because it seems as if it's already a preparation of what real life is going to be, sort of connecting with people from all over the world and speaking in a different language that is not your own language, and speaking to people all over the world.
And as cool. I just remember as a little bonus as well, is the fact that we're all on Zooms now, which is the new normal. So I guess we're already getting ready to, and it's something that I don't foresee changing drastically in the industry. It's probably going to be more and more integrated. Even when things go back to normal, there will be people will relax how the whole office experience kind of normally took place. So I think there will be more of these coming along in the coming years, and it's good to just be ready for it. You know, be ready to ideate and with a partner or in a group that is maybe
remotely.
all over the place.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, Ivan, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm going
Paula.
to interview Guto now, but please stay there, Iva, because guys, if you want to send questions, and Guto, who are teachers for today, questions in the chat. Thanks, Iva. Guto?
Oi, tudo bem?
Tudo bom? We're going to do the interview in English because people are asking for it to be in English, okay?
No problem at all.
Welcome. Welcome to our live. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. It's so good to see so many people here, huh?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Michelle is going to send Guto's bio in the chat, but I'm going to sort of read a little bit so you guys are familiar, a little bit more familiar with him. So Guto Andrade is the leader of Hilton's Global Creative Studios in McLean. The studios are Hilton's internal agency, serving all of its 19 brands and comprising 60 diverse creatives in 3 locations worldwide. Before that, he spent the past 20 years leading in-house teams for Under Armour, Motorola, Sony Electronics, and in different agencies. Interesting thing about Guto, he's an architect turned brand designer. When he's not working, Guto is also a sketcher, doodler, painter. So basically, Guto, you are an artist, I would say, from architecture to advertising and painting. So welcome.
But I do try, thank you. I do try to separate my art at home and be a designer at work, and I'll explain why.
Yeah, but I think it's so cool that you guys like talk about also like what you develop on your in your own lives, sort of in your personal lives, because they both feed into each other. You know, us having a strong creative personal life, it really feeds into our professional lives. I feel it's like a two-way street.
Absolutely, and you have to feed it with. I think, and Yvonne mentioned that, like your life prepares you to. There's a beautiful speech, if you guys haven't seen, from the actor that did the Black Panther. He did a speech at Howard University, close to here, and he mentioned that the struggles in the life you go through only prepares you for the things you're going to do in the future, right? So the richer your life is, the more things you do and you train and you're curious and all that, the richer your future will be. So the more you can practice creativity at home, and great. I have actually moved from Hilton. I am now head of creative for a new enterprise for Amazon. We just opened on Thursday our first full-size grocery store that has this just walkout technology. So now I'm building that brand. But I always try to run away from retail, but I end up getting kind of sucked back because so going back, I'm from Rio, and I like to say from Rio, but I'm truly from Petrópolis, up the mountains. Oh
yeah, I forgot to mention, you're from Rio, right?
Yeah. I was born in Rio, grew up in many places in the world, but mostly Petrópolis. And I went to school for architecture, fell in love with it, was an architect for quite a bit. And it's a great education. It's a 5-year degree, and it's very deep, but also there are some problems with it. The way the architecture is taught in Brazil is just so strict, so modernist, that you come out of it a little bit afraid of creativity. I ended up working with retail a lot of the times, ended up going to São Paulo to work for Calduro Martino, the big design and branding agency there. They, at the time, had a partnership with Lippincott Margulies in New York. I spent some time with them here and decided I wanted to go study. So I did a master's in visual communication, so basically graphic design in the US. So I've been in the US for the last 22 years. And
wow.
I spent a little time in a Japanese design office in Chicago doing graphic design and packaging, and always doing kind of dabbling in that 3D environments, but with brands involved. I was invited to go start a brand team at Motorola, and it was an amazing experience because Motorola was booming. We launched the Razr, the Moto, Hello Moto campaign for the ones that are a little bit older who remember that. I spent way too much time in China. For to Ivan's knowledge, I built a 3-story tall store in the GUM, that is the big mall in front of the Kremlin. Did over 300 stores around the world, launched campaigns and all. It was an incredible experience. From there, after 10 years in Chicago, I wanted to do a little something in a warm environment, went to Sony. At Sony, launched, redid the brand for them globally. There was a really interesting thing that, talking about experience, right? Because of my experience with the Japanese in Brazil, friends of my dad and all of that, I had the edge of working with the Japanese culture in Japan to be able to, they had a conflict with the Americans, and I'm like, I'll go there, I'll deal with it. And in 2 years, we did the whole brand, did a new retail format for them. Ended up getting this crazy opportunity at the time to go work for a company called Under Armour. It was small, not many people knew about it. And I was lucky. The growth was amazing there, and I did it all again. Like, we did the brand, the campaigns, the retail, all China, Singapore, and all of those places where the growth happens. And then I had a couple of shaky years. I ended up building an agency and in love with it, but had an offer, ended up selling my own agency. That's when I went to Hilton. And with the COVID thing, Amazon stole me from there. So that's my story really quick. So my connection with Miami Ad School is through Willie Diaz, has worked with me when I was at Motorola, and invited me to teach the course that I taught this past quarter.
Can you tell us about your class? What is it called, and sort of what content did you cover in the class?
Yeah, the class is called Brands and Branding, and basically, well, we teach brands and branding. But the thing that I think is so interesting right nowadays is that you could rename it as brand thinking, right? There is so much. If you imagine 20 years ago, not even 30, just 20 or 15 years ago, the number of channels you had to play in, the number of commerce channels you had to sell your product, the number of social media that you had, all basically none, right? And then all of that, nowadays, with the multitude of places that you have to communicate, it's very hard for a school, and that's why I like schools like Miami Ad School, very hard to communicate theory in a way that is you're not talking about the how to think in the future. Anything that we teach right now, if it's not flexible, it's not adding to your intellect on brand, it's going to get old in 2 years, because the world is evolving at such a speed. So that was where I focused on the team, is how to think branding, right? How to develop a personality that will drive all of your attitudes, all the decisions, right? Or if you make coffee, it is a brand decision if you decide to do it organic or not. It is a brand decision if you decide to do fair trade or not. Those are not things that usually come together with the brand, but that's where branding nowadays goes. I had the opportunity to meet Howard Schultz, there's a CEO of Starbucks. When he came back in 2007, and I asked him what is his plan, because he had been out for a while, and he said he was going to build a brand that is very hard, almost impossible to hate. And it was strange to me, right? And he was saying, it's like that nowadays it's not about creating a story that is empty in the background. Your attitudes have to match the way your experience is, right? Mm-hmm. Your brand is. There's Noah Yuval Harari on the Sapiens book. He says something that's really interesting. When expectations are met by reality, you have happiness. When a brand does a promise and you get to that environment or that website or that advertising and that promise is matched, you get a fan. You get somebody that will like that brand. So the days, I do think the days of the evil company that has great advertising are gone. Now, nowadays you have to embed, it's about culture, right? And branding is about changing the culture of your company. Branding is about behaving the way you want. I always say that you can't control your brand. You can influence it, right? Who controls your brand is the perception that the consumer has. So that's how we approach the course.
Nice. Yeah. So it seems like there's a level of authenticity that now is just the basic minimum for good advertising. And the message really has to be fully connected to the company and not just kind of made up or invented, I suppose, as it might have been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for example, the things that Yvonne mentioned with Burger King, those things, they belong to Burger King, right? That's where it works, right? If you get Amazon now and they try to do that, it doesn't belong. That's when you know you own something, right? There's a woman called Stella Adler. She's the creator of the method acting that a lot of actors do. And she said something like, don't act, behave. So that's what you have to do. You have to create this attitude and find methodologies to control those attitudes where everybody in the company can behave the same way. And then you build great brands.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your class. It's kind of what I was asking Eva. So like because this was your first time teaching all 5 schools, right?
Yeah, JG is going to correct me. We had the US, we had Venezuela.
Oh, you had US too, okay.
Yeah, we had one student from the US, we had Mexico, Argentina, Brazil. I think that those are the ones, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, and the US. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, did we have anybody from Punta Cana, JG? I don't know if he's listening. But it was amazing, and to tell you the truth, I came in, even though I started the class probably 4 months into having 8 hours a day on a screen. You still have a challenge of how are you going to integrate groups where half of the students are in Brazil and other half are in Argentina, maybe one of the group is in Mexico. And it was incredible. So first, the level of students was really good. They were engaged, they were interested people. And at any point, maybe there's a generational thing as well. At any point they challenged language or cultural differences, they just embraced it. So, and we did a long project. We developed a business idea for a hospitality service or hotel, and then we developed the brand. We developed all the way to what would the architecture look like, what would be the music, influencer, social media, advertising, everything. So you would get, not with the intent on teaching advertising, because it's not that. It's the intent of like, do you know that the things you would do for advertising based on the brand you created, do they feel right? Can you make that and that's where at the end, they were fluent in their brands. And it was really interesting that these groups, we had somebody from the US that lives here close to me, close to DC, working with somebody from Argentina, and they did a beautiful project. They did a music festival in space. So, but beautifully branded and all that. So really, really good. I think the the value of mixing the people in different worked really well, and I think it's invaluable. I think Ivan mentioned the practicing the English, practicing technical terms, because it's a problem I have in Portuguese. If you had asked me I speak Portuguese fluent, but I wasn't a professional for too long in Brazil. So I don't know some of the technical terms in Portuguese. So it's not, I have an anecdote that's kind of fun. When I was at Motorola, I went to Brazil and I had a presentation, and I had to go present to the president of Casas Bahia. And he was known to be a dry individual. And then when I'm driving there already nervous, the person looked at me and said, "Don't speak any English terms and don't use PowerPoint." I had a 50-page PowerPoint and I didn't know anything in Portuguese for the terms of retail, merchandising, anything like that. So it's good to have exposure to what other languages speak in the international language of business as well. So.
Wow, what an experience. But I have the same issue with photography, because I don't know if you were in the beginning of the presentation, but I was telling everyone here that I studied photography and video in the US, and I worked there. That's where I started my photography and film career. So I have the same issue here in Brazil. I now live in São Paulo, and lots of times I'll use the English term, but there's always someone around me who helps me out and translates. So it's all good.
Yeah, well, and it's better right now. I think in the past it got a little, it could sound arrogant, but nowadays I think it's, people are understanding that the world is more
right. And I think it speaks a lot to what you and Ivan were saying about how, the communities and advertising is getting more and more international, especially now with everything we're going through. It's just, we're going to have a more common language and to be able to, accelerate communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Guto. That was so great. Guys, do you have, if anybody wants questions here in the chat, please, and then I will ask Eva and Guto, okay? Does anybody have any questions for now? Let's see. All right, I will read do you see the question? So if I go to a quarter away, I have to speak the language of the country, or the classes are in English. Well, Alejandra, I think Michele can answer your question better, because I think it also depends on the class. So some classes might be in Spanish, some classes might be in English, but she can get to you there. Your class was in what language, Guto?
It was in English. It was in English.
English?
Yeah.
And Eva?
Mine was in English as well, yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, thank you so much, guys. I'll let you know if something pops up here. Another question. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was our sort of segment on the teachers and what they've been teaching in these international quarters. That, like they've said, they've had like students from 4, 5, 6 different schools around the world. Now I wanted to bring on some students. We have a lot of students. We have 4 or 5 students here. One of them just texted me actually saying she's almost here, but we have other people online already, for them to kind of share with you guys, for everyone who's here in the live, if you're thinking of becoming a part of my med school, for you to really have the perspective of the student taking these international classes, okay? And we have one from each school. So we'll have between 4 and 5 students. So I would like to start with, who am I seeing here in the Adriana.
Hi,
Hola, Adriana. You want to do it in English, or you prefer Spanish? What do you prefer?
Both is good, but I think that people from Brazil want to understand it too, so in English is fine.
Perfect. Okay. So Adriana Weinberg, did I say your name correctly?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so she's an art director in Miami Art School, Buenos Aires. So welcome, Adriana. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Of course. Awesome. So I wanted to start, I kind of want to ask more or less the same question for this first question for everyone, but then you can start. because, you know, each student builds their own sort of international experience or path. It's so personal, and the school really does offer this very customized, like you can literally choose where you want to go. Like Yvonne was saying, he went to Moscow, and you can really cater to your wants and needs. And everyone's path here is different. So could you tell me a little bit about your creative path at school, how you chose it, sort of what you've learned along the way, and then I will ask you about the remote experience of the classes.
Awesome. Well, okay, I'm actually from Bolivia. I was born and raised here, and then I decided to go to Miami Art School to start my advertising career in art direction. It started in 2016 as an art director. I'm already a graduate student, but still with some classes in because I want to be more involved in copywriting. So yeah, I can't get over Miami Art School yet. So yeah, well, it's my path in Miami Art School has been really nice. It has changed a lot of aspects as I thought since I went to another city. I just visited once in a vacation. So from the beginning was everything a surprise, and also I met wonderful people there that really wanted to learn and really want to be there, to be honest. I think that if you really want to be in Miami Art School, it's somewhere you want to be in and not just make homework for something. It's just you really want to get involved with your stuff, because at the end it's your portfolio, is your work that you want to show to the people you want, or to festivals or anything in general. So I also did 2 quarters away, but I did 3 internships. My internships were in Macan, Buenos Aires, in BBDO Atlanta, and also in City and New York. In 3 of those internships, I've met tons of wonderful people, and I also met a lot of students in each city. That was amazing. I actually met Hanna, that is here today in Miami Art School, New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when it wasn't remotely as now. But yeah, I've got a lot of perspective. I've worked with a lot of people of other countries, and even when English was our main language to communicate with, it became a great experience also. So you can also have this other perspectives of people and what they think it's a good idea versus a bad idea. Maybe the best idea you have for someone else is not the best you have. And I know it's the difference of creatives, and I think that's the rich thing about Miami Art School in general.
Yeah, for sure. So now I wanted to ask you about the classes that you took. Did you take any of these classes where it was sort of all international, or were your experiences mostly quarter away?
So these remotely classes, I took one with Cheche, that he's going to be here later.
Yes.
Yeah. So we took Nomad ideas, which was pretty interesting. It was about a brief that you could present to a client, and you could present it to them, which is really weird in advertising, as you as a junior or you as a trainee to be actually in the meeting with the client. So we got the chance, and Palma was there too, and Caio too. We met remotely. So yeah, it was a good experience. We had teams of different places in Latin America, and most of the time was in English, but the presentation was in Spanish. It was a drama, but we all went through, and it was really good. Yeah,
but I think drama is definitely part of the Miami Art School experience. I mean, think about it. You're putting together so many creatives, people who are creative, people who, love having ideas and getting their ideas out there, and you put them all together, it's always going to be a challenge. But I remember also from my experience at school, in the end, it always comes together and everyone learns so much and is sort of so much better for that. And I think that's why we have lifelong friends at Miami Ad School, because we go through some intense stuff together.
Yeah. And also, I think it's the most realistic thing involving advertising in general, because right now I'm working in a hub from Gray that's called Bordeaux Gray. It's actually in Buenos Aires. But we work
so
with,
where are you now? You're in Buenos Aires?
Right now I'm in Bolivia because of the pandemic, but I'll be in Buenos Aires back soon. So since I'm working there, and well, it's this international hub that you talk with people from everywhere, from I know sometimes New York, sometimes London, sometimes even the Philippines. So yeah, the realistic part of this that I'm trying to say is that drama is in advertising too. Like, it's not just the school, it's just the beginning. But yeah, it's the nice part of it, it's part of it.
It's part of the journey. Yeah, for sure. It's part of the journey, and it's a good part, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's the most realistic way you can feel the the school is kind of working in an agency most of the time, so that's the good thing.
Yeah, we always say it's very, it's really about the real world experience and bringing that to the classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question for you already, so maybe you can already answer this question and then we'll go to the next student. But then stick around because we might have a question. So someone said, Adriana, ¿te fue fácil encontrar prácticas?
Yeah, well, it all depends on your portfolio when you want to go to Cordaway or to your internship. So they value your portfolio and they see what things you've done. So if you have a good portfolio, like most of the guys I have been in Miami Ad School with, most of them also got internships and stuff, because it depends on your portfolio and what you want to achieve and everything. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, and then if any of the other, I'm going to call 3 or 4 more students. So if any of you guys can also answer that question, you can totally do that as well. I think the more tips we can offer tonight, the better. So I want to call Caio Kochenborger. Tell me if I said your name right.
Yeah, almost that is Kochenborger.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
For sure. So you are a copywriting student from the Brazil school in São Paulo, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Can you tell me a little bit about your process at school, how it's been with the international experiences in Quarterway?
Yeah.
Kind of like a summary of how it's been for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I started Miami School about 2 years ago. I think it was 2018. And I was just actually talking about with a friend one of these days that the whole experience went by so fast. But yeah, so I was doing some internships in Brazil and some agencies there. And an opportunity came up to go and do the Quarterway. And it was something that got my interest before joining Miami Ad School. And so I talked to a few places that I could go with Paula, which is the coordinator for the local Miami Ad School. And then I actually got to talk with people from GUT Miami, which
that's so funny because I have friends from from when I was at Miami, Frank Garcia, who is at GUT Miami. Frank, we graduated together.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Frank and Julia.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're so sweet and they're so generous and help a lot. But yeah, so I got to talk with Juan and Ricky, who are the ACDs of the agency, who still are the ACDs of the agency. And then we got to talking, and it was a bit of a crazy experience because I was in mid-December in São Paulo, and okay, so you have to come here, and okay, so yeah. And it was a really intense experience going to GUT because I believe that the agent itself, they have like such a creative vibe. They're like a creative driven agency. And so it was like, I learned a lot by going there because basically I got to work with a lot of people that I already like admired and stuff, like Juan and Ricky and Frank and Anselmo. And so you made a lot of great connections when you go on these things, because it's an experience that's it's different from everything that you could have like as a Miami school student. I think it's something very unique. And I made one of my best friends in advertising when I was in my internship, which is Shadab, and we talk like every day basis. And I think that's also like something great, that you live through this whole crazy experience together, and you make friends. There's Palma there's Fred, who are like my love friends. And yeah, so that was kind of my experience. I was like, I think 2 months in Miami, and I got to know a little bit of the city and the agency a lot, because yeah, it was a very good experience.
Yeah, but it's funny you should say that you saw the agency a lot, because yeah, I think it's definitely fair to mention that these quarterways are very intense, right? Like in a good way. You're super immersed in work and really just, yeah, immersed. And it's like a good intensity because you learn so much and very quickly, because if you think about it, a quarter, 2.5 months, it's not that long.
Yeah.
But it all, at least for me, I always felt so transformed after 2.5 months that it felt like a year sometimes. I was like, what? But that was yesterday. And I just feel like I grew so much.
Yeah, that's exactly, because when I went into the agency, I thought like, okay, so this is like 10 weeks thing. It's gonna like, but it was so intense, and we were at the agency a lot, because when you go to an internship in an agency like that, you have a lot of opportunities of doing like cool work, because the briefs come to you. They treat you like juniors or something like that. So you get feedback from like the best creatives in the industry on a daily basis, and that is something that makes you grow a lot. And yeah, it's an amazing experience. I think that anyone that can have that should definitely.
For sure. Do you have what about, so now actually we have a question that maybe you could answer, Adriana, if you want to say something about it as well after too. Florencia is asking that if you have to recommend something for them to study or practice, what would it be? I'm assuming, Florencia, it's to like prepare you for maybe the school or for international experience, but is there anything that you guys would recommend? Practice or study? We've heard English, we've heard a few things already.
Yeah, no, English definitely helps, but I think that for me, I was a bit like insecure with my English when I went there. It got better by working with people like on a daily basis. But I think it actually depends on the type of creative that you want to be, because sometimes you're going to be, you want to be the creative who has more ideas, or you want to be the creative who is more about the craft. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you want to do both. So it's kind of up to you, however you feel like, okay, this is what I like the most. And I think that Miami School will give you the opportunity to study everything you want. So I think you should take that and like learn as much as you can. But English definitely helps, but it's like people are going to try to understand you as much as they can when you're out of your country.
Yeah, and I think from what you said, it's just like, it's not just the craft or the ideas that you develop, but also try to figure out what, like you said, what you want in a creative career.
Exactly.
And really sort of follow and make your own path.
Exactly, because when you're doing your portfolio, is not just about like the work you want to show to people, is a bit of the work that you want to do when you go into an agency, because when they're going to hire you, okay, so this guy is good at that. So if you don't like that as much, maybe you can do in a different path, I think it's more about what you like, and then you can improve yourself better on that.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Caio. Then stick around
Yeah,
for
of
more
course.
questions, please, because we might have more questions. Adriana, do you have anything to add to that? Any tips that you would, because I think it will be really cool for like whatever question we get for the students that everybody answers a little bit, so we get lots of perspective. Do you have any other tips or advice to add to that?
Yeah. So adding to Caio, he's saying like your portfolio is like what you want to work with in real life, but also it's a little bit of yourself, a little bit of your personality and stuff. And I don't know if study is the word, but I would totally recommend to see what type of advertising you want to do. Like go to Ads of the World and see what type of advertising they're doing or what type of advertising you would want to do someday. I think that is something teachers were going to tell you in the first day you join Miami Ad School if you want to, of course. But what I mean is that it's pretty interesting to know what you want to do when you're a professional, and that your portfolio in this portfolio program is actually what you want. And yeah, that will be it.
Cool.
And
thank you, Adriana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see who we have next. Gabriela Almonte.
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. So Gabriela Almonte, she is a copywriter at Miami Ad School Punta Cana, which sounds awesome, by the way. I just want to point that out. And so yeah, I kind of want to ask you more or less the same things. It's like, how has your creative path been at school first, so people can get to know you a little bit more?
Sure. My path for me actually starts like a little bit before. When I was in college, I studied business administration and I absolutely hated it. I did finish the career, and I always say this because it was actually one of my teachers that saw a different potential in me, that called me. I was in my job that I hated as well, called me and said, I need you to meet someone. And that someone was JG, the director of the Miami Ad School. And that was like a moment of change for me, because I saw him, he explained the school to me, and I fell in love. And for me, part of the journey is knowing that every single step you take, it's essential for what you're going to do next. Every single class, every single teacher that you meet, every single sleepless night, every single time you get mad at someone, it's going to help you grow on your creative path. Because I'm not going to say, oh, this is the easiest thing in the world. It's going to be hard. It's going to frustrate you, but it's going to make you grow so much. From the moment you get into the school to when you actually get out in the world, you will, like, when you are in your job, you will be like, okay, that same thing or something similar happened to me when I was at school, and now
I know I can handle it.
Exactly. Like I actually was telling JG, I think this morning, that I spent like the whole weekend working now that I'm in quarter away. And I just remember one time we almost left a school. Like we worked that much. But it's such a great experience that you get to learn from so many people. You learn from your teachers, but you learn from the students that are right beside you that have a different mindset. And you get so much growth from their way of thinking, from actually debating your idea, saying, no, that doesn't work, or yes, that does work, but what if we add this? So I think it's a growth opportunity between your teachers and the students. And what I really loved about being in Miami Ad School Punta Cana is that it's a small island, and it's not even like in the capital city. It's in Punta Cana, like right in the beach. So you wouldn't think like advertising school. But the cool thing was that we had virtual classes before we had to have virtual classes, and that gave me the opportunity.
Oh, you already have that then, Punta Cana, with other schools,
Yes.
with teachers. Okay.
Yeah, because like I will say maybe 30% of our teachers were Dominicans, but we had teachers from New York, teachers from Miami, teachers from Puerto Rico. Like we were kind of bit all over the place with our teachers, but that gave us the opportunity to learn from people who, like, I just got the notification on LinkedIn that one of my teachers, Soham Chatterjee, is now Associative Creative Director at Facebook. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, oh, I know him. He actually gave me a class and he's a contact that I have. So it's not only the experience of, oh, I'm learning these skills, is I'm networking. I'm knowing this.
You're networking, for sure.
Like advertising is like this. It's a small world. And
yeah, I remember, I don't know if I can say this in the live, but I'm going to say it anyway. I remember in my, when I was at school, there was a guest speaker every Monday. And I swear, every single person in their presentation, their last piece of advice was, don't be a dick. Because exactly what you're saying now, the advertising world can be like, everybody knows each other. So being nice, I mean, not faking it obviously, but like being nice to people and connecting with people and being genuine and authentic in your relations and in this networking and you know, it's so important. And it's kind of like the basis of everything we do, because we also want to work with people, you know, have fun at work too.
Actually, we had a teacher that said half of the reasons why they're going to hire you is the work that you do, and the other half is your personality. No one wants
like, can I see this person for 10 hours a day?
Exactly, and in a super stressful situation. So that's one of the things that for me made like a big difference. Teachers not only like teach you skills, but they teach you how the industry works, and they treat you like you are already working. It's not like, oh, they are students, let me treat them like babies and like make it soft for them. It's, this is work, this is how we do things, this is the level of like engagement that you need to have to make this work. Let's do this.
Yeah. And I think something so cool, I was actually going to ask you about this, but then you sort of briefly mentioned it, that I think it's more specific to Punta Cana, that you guys were already taking remote classes. Like you said before, we're all sort of forced to learn now. Some people are more comfortable with it, some less, but you guys were already doing that. So you kind of have a very, I don't know. So what is your view on this sort of international experience in terms of remote learning? Because for you, it wasn't much of a transition then. You were already
I was like kind of used to it. Exactly. It's like every single quarter we had at least one international teacher, and it had to be virtual. We didn't have a choice. But when you get used to virtual, you learn how to create connections. We have teachers now that we still have them contact, and we didn't see them like once, like physically. And I think of the few advocates of virtual learning. I love it because for me, when I was first picking my agencies for Quarter Way, I saw this one agency in San Francisco that is called 11, but San Francisco is super expensive and I couldn't afford it. So I said, well, maybe next time. I cannot afford this. I'm going to scrap it. I'm going to go for Miami. And right then the pandemic started, because I'm a recent graduate. So my quarter way started the same month as the quarantine started. So it was Miami plans canceled. So I had to like reframe all my thinking, what I'm going to do, so I said, well, I will reapply to 11 and see what happens. I'm at 11 right now. So if it wasn't for remote learning and like this virtual thing, I wouldn't have got into that dream agency that I had from like months ago. And now I can.
Because the truth is not everyone can, you know, get visas and move across the world and do things like that. But if the remote learning or remote experiences really give us that opportunity. I mean, even right now we have 77 people, and I was reading who was here, you know, Guatemala, Bolivia, Brazil, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. It's super cool. I like it too. We have a couple of questions. There was a question for Adriana, but then Gabriela or Caio, whoever wants to answer. She asked, I think, Adriana, if you had studied art direction before. Maria Jose. Adriana, did you study art direction before?
So yeah, I used to be in another university studying art direction before I met wonderful Miami at school, and it wasn't really art direction, to be honest. It was advertising in general, rather than being focused on art direction, and that's where that I found out that I wasn't really being in art direction. So yeah, but it was a really short of time before Miami at school.
Yeah, and our students tend to have very varied backgrounds usually. Like, Gabriela was saying she was in business, and then so it tends to be varied too. Not everyone who goes to the school has already trained in that profession.
A teacher that was a bioengineer.
A bioengineer, there you go. There you go. So there's also another question, guys. So any of you guys can take this, I suppose. Even I haven't spoken to Hanna yet, but if Hanna wants to take it as well, take it away. It's here in the chat. So now that much of the work is done remotely, do you consider it appropriate to invest in good hardware so as to not to struggle abroad with an old laptop? Talking about the job of an art director. Who wants to take that?
I can do it if you want. Definitely do invest in, I mean, my MacBook, I have a MacBook, and then during quarantine, I bought an iMac. You don't need to buy an old version. And older Macs, they never die. You can just replace the battery and that's fine. And then you can insert the RAM memories. So then it works just the same as a 2020, besides, but not the Retina or the 4K or 5K, but works perfectly fine. Just get whichever has good RAM memory, not just the because there's SSD, which is the memory installed inside your MacBook, and then there's also, or iMac or whichever, and there's the something, I forgot what's the other one called, but you want to get the SSD, the best ones, the higher RAM, memory for the SSD. And for the softwares, because I've had a lot of crashes on my MacBook before, that's why I also bought an iMac. Just install the RAMs. If you have an older version, you can always buy it for cheaper on Amazon, and just install the RAMs. I have 32 RAMs now, so then my computer, because if you are working on 4 different softwares, and Adobe especially, or After Effects or Premiere Pro, crashes,
oh my God.
Fast. I had 100 gigabytes of one project only, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just dying because the render. No, you don't want to suffer right now. Just get yourself a lot of RAMs, because seriously, it's gonna save you a lot of time.
Yeah. Listen, when I'm on Premiere, I'm always hitting Control Save, Command Save, Command Save, Command Save every 2 minutes
all the time. It's already auto save every 25 minutes. But if I'm doing After Effects every minute, every second, no, because I don't want to lose my work. No.
Yeah. Hanna, so let's now that you've already answered a question, we have another question too. But first, introduce yourself like the other students did, like this. We know a little bit more about you, and then I already have a question for you. One more.
Hello. So I'm Hanna. I'm from Miami at school, Mexico City. I'm Korean, but I grew up in Mexico City, so I'm more Mexican than Korean. But before Miami at school, I actually did a bachelor's in advertising, but it was not the advertising that we know today, especially on the creative side. It was mostly just media planning or anything, and it was also with PR and marketing. So yeah, but at the end, in my last year of senior year of college, I had a professor who always talked about Miami at school, and he was a creative class. And he was the EC, executive director from Leo Burnett, and he always mentioned Miami at school. So I was like, oh, after this, I want to go to Miami at school. So that was in Chicago, and then 1 year later, I am in Miami at school, Mexico City. And what is great about the Latin American Miami at schools is that you pay very low tuition money, because in the US, it's $3,300 something per quarter. In Europe is the same thing, but in euros, expensive. In Mexico, I same experience, same professors, same classes, same level, but for so much cheaper. And the other best thing about it, like, is that in the first year you stay in your school, like the station. So I stayed in Miami at school, Mexico. So I stayed in Mexico City for 1 year. And my second year, I went to, like, from the 16 locations we have, I went to Madrid for 1 quarter. I did McCann internship at lab, and then also took the classes. And then I was supposed to go to Hamburg next quarter. But they recently changed their policy that if you take an internship, you can't take classes. And I only wanted to go to Hamburg because, like, for the classes, because it's supposed to be the best Miami school in, like, from the 16. So I decided not to go because I didn't want to just do the internship. And then I went to the Tokyo I went to AKQA. Great experience, a lot of work, a lot of stress, but it was great, no matter what, and a lot of good food. Oh, I miss ramen so badly. And then for my third and fourth quarter, I decided to go to New York because I wanted to get a job right after, because, New York, the city of the apple or something like that, I don't know, the epicenter of advertising. And so I was in RGA, this year in January for my third, and then I took classes at the same time, so that's where I met Adriana. And yes, and I was also gonna do my last internship with RGA again, but COVID, so no internship for me, just full-time classes, and it was a lot of work, but I got a lot of good campaigns out of it, so it was good. So I just graduated in June. And I just got my O1 visa, and right now I am doing a lot of interviews because I decided to take a break before applying for jobs. So Miami Ad School, let me tell you something, you guys. If you don't have the guts, if you don't have, like, what it takes to be, because this is not easy, like Gabriela said before. This is a lot of work, and if you're gonna be like a berrinchido, like llorando, like, oh my god, it's so much work, Miami Ad School is not for you, because Miami Ad School, they prepare you for the real world. It's not it's not just classes. Like this, they teach you the real work, like a real world of advertising. What you learn from here is what you're gonna be doing actually in the agencies. So that's why people choose Miami Ad School students over anyone else, like when they do internships, because they already know what it is in the field. They know what campaigns are, integrated campaigns, digital, 360,
branding,
all of
yeah.
We all know these things because they taught us within that first year. And so, yeah, Miami Ad School is for people like us, and hopefully people like you too.
So we have a couple questions for you already, Hanna. Macarena is asking, how do you manage to survive with the work and studying abroad at the same time in terms of money and time of course? I think Michelle has already answered that, but anyway, if you want to answer that. So how do you survive with, like, or how you guys, I guess the four of you have had that experience in terms of like managing, your experiences abroad and finances and time? I mean, I think you sort of answered it already, Hanna, that it's intense.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, well, at least for me, during the quarter, I have no social life. Kind of almost no social life, because I also work on the weekends for like award festivals if I have no time during internship and classes, like let's say for example RGA in January, my seventh quarter I was working internship, and then at nighttime I have classes, and my only free time to work on awards is weekends. So weekends, no social life. That's basically what I did, and also did some freelancing to get some money, like, to spend later on, like since I couldn't go out, it was mostly for food. I saved a lot of money on not partying because of that, but yeah, that's how I managed mine. I don't know how you guys manage my other fellow Miami Ad School people here.
Does anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I can go through. So yeah, Hanna is like saying everything like in a summary of how it is to work and actually be in Miami Ad School with the internships and stuff. And yeah, basically my experience was kind of the same, including times that maybe when you're in the internship, you meet these awesome people and you start doing award-winning cases with them. So the only time we had was after classes, as Hanna says, and sometimes we would stay at our internship until the next day, and we would just go back and shower and come back. That would be it. Like, it's really hard, guys, seriously. And yeah, just as I said before, don't take homework as homework, because this is what is going to be in your portfolio and the things you want to show. And yeah, you have to work hard for what you want.
Cool. I actually have a two-parter question now. So then, Hanna, you can start again, and then whoever else wants to answer it as well. Ricardo asked, how many awards did you win as a student? So I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Whoever wants to say it can also say it, how many awards they got as a student. And he also asked, one last thing. And he also asks how important it is to find a good creative partner.
Ooh, okay. So awards, I currently have 26 awards, nationally and internationally. Hopefully Clio Awards is gonna be good to me, and I'll hopefully have a Clio this year. Who knows? Maybe.
Oh,
yeah. We'll see. Make money. No, just kidding. No, I also make money. For a creative partner, though, it's really important. I mean, like your first year of Miami Art School is the time you can fuck up a little bit. Not too much, but just a tiny little bit. And by that means, like a partner with, you're gonna have a lot of classes in one quarter, so partner with a lot of different people, because those are the ones you want to know if you fit in with them, like if you guys are a match, or if you guys are chaos together, so no, big no. So like
find out quickly who you work well with.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be only on your area. For example, like in Mexico City, I have two other classmates. Their name is Chavi, and Chavi worked also with Sachi with Adriana and Gata. And then us three, we met the very beginning of Miami Art School, and then we clicked really well. We worked really well. So we're like working all the time. Even though we're all art directors, like Chavi, he was a journalist in the past, so we will have him do some copywriting as well. So yeah, those we've been working like that together, and then we've been moved to schools together, like quarter away. So we went to Madrid together, Tokyo together. We even lived in the same room in Tokyo, which was very, very tiny, but it was so much cheaper than having your own. So expensive, but the food is really good. And then we moved to New York together. And then COVID happened, so we didn't have our agencies at the end for the last one, but that's how like we kept on doing works together. But however, since we were all art directors, we always need a copywriter partner. So, and then one partner I did find, or like few, I did find one that in RJ on my internship, and she and I have been working on campaigns together, like during class. I mean, even though she was not in the same class as I was, she and I were just during our work internship, we're just like thinking of awards. So every weekend, like we'll come to the agency and then stay until 3. And well, I will stay longer because I need big screens to work. I'm like a very OCD. But so, and then agencies were the only places for the monitors. So we'll work, and we're still working right now for Cannes for next year. So hopefully we can get Cannes too. But yeah, I met her on January, and we're still working together. And I still work sometimes with Chavi and Gata as well. But copywriter was, because art director and copywriter are supposed to be. And she's my soulmate, my partner. Her name is Ria Dosani, if you guys want.
Yeah.
Her.
So basically it's super important.
Very,
to add a little bit to
guys.
What Hanna said.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I call her my creative soulmate. That's Palma. Actually, she's here. But I think it's really important, adding to what Hanna said, like you need your partner to everything. And I'm a copywriter, she's an art director. And I think it's less about two people who have the same ideas. You don't need to have the same ideas. Actually, it's the contrary. It's better if someone who has a different thinking than you, but I think you do have to have an immense respect for your partner, because you're going to go through so much struggle together that you need to respect each other, and also like balance like your skills. Like, she's an art director, I'm a copywriter, but also she has different ideas that I don't have, and I have ideas that she doesn't have. And she has this idea, and I say, oh, but what if we do this? And I have something. She says, oh, but what if instead of this, we do this? And it's like, instead of, oh, let me pick this person that I think it's like similar to me, pick someone that you respect, someone that you can actually get along, because don't pick someone because they are like good creative. Pick them also because you're going to get along, because you're going to kill each other if you don't do that. And
awesome.
like,
so true.
Yeah, it's because you're going to go through so much things with that person. You have to.
I definitely need to have that level of mutual respect and understanding with each other. Thank you so much. That was awesome. You guys, I really have to move on to the next part where we're going to talk about the international agency. There is one more question in the chat. Maybe the four of you could take a look at it and maybe answer in the chat. It says, what factors do you take into account to decide in which venue to do the quarter away? So if you could maybe answer that person there, or stick around until the end of the live. If there's a little time left, I'll ask you live, but it's up to you guys. But there's one little question there left over for you guys if you can answer. Thank you so much, you guys. It was amazing.
Yeah, so do we answer it?
Maybe in the chat, because I have to move on to the next part now. Thank you so much, Hanna. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Adriana, Caio, Gabriela. Thank you. Is Cheche here already?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Cheche. Oh, I see you now.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome to the live.
Fine. Yes, it's a part of me. I don't know. It's late. It's just one part of me, but I'm here.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here. So do you want to introduce yourself first to everyone? I have your bio here as well, and we can send it in the chat, but maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit. And I think also one of the things that have come up a lot is the students and the other teachers talking about nomad ideas. So if you could also follow up with what is Nomad Ideas in Miami Ad School? What is this crazy thing?
Okay. Well, I know they have my bio, but I'm Cheche, Fernando Tchechenistky, as my name says in the window. I'm the CCO of VMLY and Buenos Aires. And also I'm the creative head of Miami Ad School Buenos Aires with Bernardo. We have been working together the last 6 years. And with Bernardo, we thought an idea. I'm working in VMLY and he's the Miami High School director, and we had the idea of thinking of a content to recreate a real situation in an agency, in a network, when we have a regional pitch or we have to work with offices of another countries. That is very common now. And this situation of working together by Zoom, or everyone in his house is very common, or in his office, because usually when we work with different offices, usually we don't meet together. We make appointments and then we have Zooms. Before the Zoom, before the Zoom fever, we had a lot of Zooms. So we think it was a good idea for the pupils for the students, not the pupils, to recreate this situation. So we talked to the CEOs of the different offices of VMLY in the different countries, Mexico, Chile, Brazil, Colombia, and we made the team with the different creative directors, and then we gave to the students a regional brief for a regional yes, from a regional client we have. Sorry, my English I think is shitty, but well, it's the time. I'm yes, because I saw everyone talk very well here, but well, and speak very well, and well, but
everyone can understand you. Everyone, we can understand you.
I know. Well, I sold a lot of ideas with this English, but well, maybe someone think, okay, this guy is CCO from a country. That's what I think every time. I say, I have to improve my English. But well, I think it's clear, and I think it's better than speaking in Malportuñol. That it's great. But I know the Brazilian people wants to speak English. I don't know why, because I think I can speak Portuguese, but well, I don't know. I'm come back. Well, so so we gave a regional brief for of a regional client to the students, and then we made different groups when we mix students from different countries with creative directors from different countries to make a multilingual and multicultural groups, no? In a real situation.
So they're all working on the same brief,
exactly.
but split up into teams.
Exactly, and all the creative directors are from the same network, of course. So they, in all their countries, they work for the same client, so they know the client. And then at the end of the course, we made a presentation to the top level client in Spain. No, that is very unusual, because as I say to the students, it's a very unique situation, because there is a lot of creatives in the agencies, juniors or seniors, and they don't have the possibility to present to that guys, no, because it's a very top level of the company. So I think it was a great experience. For me, it was a great experience, different experience. I was professor at the Miami Art School for a long time, 6 years, and for 20 years I was professor. But this situation, it's a combination of the professional and the professor, you know. You are a creative director in a network, but at the same time, you are a professor, and you have to share your skills with them, because it's not only a class, you know. It's a real work with a real client, and there is a lot of things that it's not only the idea. There are a lot of skills involved, you know, and you have to share with the students skills that maybe you have, I don't know, 6 years after you being a creative, or you are working as a creative, you know. So it's hard. I think they can explain better than me, because they are the other part of the story, you know.
The students, yeah.
Exactly.
But I think I just have one quick one more question for you. Then we can go over to them. Yeah. I just kind of want to hear from you, like, based on your experience as a professor and a professional. You know, what are sort of your tips about how a student can get ready for that experience? How can they prepare for an experience like that? Because like you said, it really is a very unique program. You don't really see things like that anywhere else. So based on your experience, can you?
Well, I think they can say, but I think the learnings, the only way to have the learnings is when the course is finished. No, I saw, I see Palma is with her head, because I think it's hard to share the experience before the experience. No, so you have to
Really live it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think because during the course, we said them a lot of things. So, well, okay, you have to be focused on the idea, or you have to be more synthetic, or you have to, I don't know, you need a very clear intro, because when you have this kind of work, the most important thing is the context. Maybe you have a weak idea, but if the presentation is very solid, the idea looks better.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a very powerful idea, but the context is weak, the idea is weak. You know?
For sure, yeah.
So
learning how to present is almost as important as the idea itself.
Exactly. I think the most important work was explain them how they have to build the context, no? How to build the context.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of things that they didn't catch it. You know, they didn't catch. But when the client speak and made his feedback, they understood.
Yeah, 100%.
No?
That real, for sure, that real world experience, there's no substitute for that.
Exactly. So the only way to have the experience is past the experience, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's impossible to, well, it's as it's as life.
Yeah. Why very wise words from Cheche. You wanna bring the students on then? We have 3 students for everyone who's on the live too, just so you know. We have 3 students that were part of this international agency experience. So it's Palma, art director from Punta Cana, Fred Levy, and Caio from São Paulo. So
yes, and Adriana also, eh?
Adriana, okay.
Adriana also.
Palma, I see your camera's on. You want to take it away, Palma? I don't see the other two.
Thank you for having me today. It's an honor. I didn't think I would be interviewed. I was like, oh my God, I feel like this is something new. Well, about some things that Cheche said, it's like you can't live the experience until you don't learn from the experience until the very end, because you have to be able to stand at this end point from this agency experience, because it was a real life. It was something very precious, because how realistic it is for a student to present to a real client. We had a guy in Europe, and I was like, it was a lot. And when I stood there at the end of everything, I looked back, and everything was being added on and on, and it was somehow like building a story. But I think the learnings I personally took away was, first of all, working with people who I didn't know personally. Because as Gabriela said, we are like, okay, like this is my girl. That's my girl. She's my soulmate. I can say anything in any language to her and she will get it. Even though we don't think the same way, we're pretty different. but it's a good combination. But then with Fred and Caio, I was like, oh my God, how can I share my creativity, my point of view with someone who I don't even know how they take things? I mean, I don't know how they work. And it was at first very shocking. And I can say that now we're friends. We became friends. And I never thought I would become friends with them just because it was a Zoom experience. But as you share ideas and you share comments, and you have to be very humble to bring others' perspective into your own. Mm-hmm. It's a very humbling experience, for real. And also you have to build up some sort of courage, and at the same time tact, because you also have to give them feedback and give them like, I love this. However, what if we do this?
Sorry, Palma. Imagine the tact you have to have when you are working with fellas from another offices, now that you don't know, and there are colleagues, professional colleagues. So you have to give them feedback in a very polite way. You know?
Muy diplomático, claro.
Yes, you have to be the most polite men in the world, you know, because they are colleagues and they have the same client in another country, and maybe a lot of time, maybe you think, it's shit, but you can say it. You have to say, well, I don't know, maybe it's not really focused on the client's problematic.
It's not quite there yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Totally. And I truly felt that many times with my own ideas and Fred's and Caio's addings. We had, and you know, Cheche, how our idea went evolving from class to class. I think honestly, the guys are here. Every single class we had a whole different deck. It was a different idea. Every single week we would meet, and it was at the point of the presentation, we would be like, this is nothing about what we presented last week. This has nothing to do with it.
A lot of evolution from week to week very quickly. Are the guys here so they can jump in too? Caio and Fred, are they being shy now, or are they not here?
I know, right? No, they can be shy. They can be shy. They like to pretend they don't know how to speak, just so I speak. I know what you guys are doing.
Let me see if I can find them here. I don't see them, but anyway, so take it away until they...
But really, it was about challenging our ideas and our way of working. And as the girls, and I don't remember if the three of them, Adriana, Gabriela, and Hanna, said this, but if you're not going to put your work here, like if you're not going to put all the efforts, then this is not the place for you. Just because this is the real life school. I don't consider this advertising school. I consider it life school. Because as you develop your creativity, you learn so much about life itself, because you can't talk about humans if you don't understand humans. You can talk to humans, you can't convince them of anything unless you are understanding their point, their hurting points, their love points, everything.
Yeah, and that circles back so strongly to what Yvonne was saying right at the beginning when he was talking about how the brand message has to be like so in sync with the brand and what the brand actually stands for and does.
Totally, and that's something that you learn here in Miami Ad School in Punta Cana, because JG, our director, he's a big fan of the brand called You, and I totally thank him for that, because you, as you know and understand, and as you understand how to work on your personal brand, if you can work on yourself, you can work on anything. That's kind of the way I kind of see it. You can apply the same job, the same work, and honestly, it's like building your portfolio. Building your portfolio is your presentation card. Who am I as a professional and as a person? Because I think in advertising, different from a lot of other industries, in advertising, who you are as a person comes across a lot more, because it reflects in your job. It reflects everything. So like in our portfolios, we have our passion projects. It was something that we focus on a lot, because
I was just going to say that. I was going to ask you about personal projects, because that the agencies really look at that to see who you are. Like, what are you working on when nobody's telling you to work on something? That's your passion.
Value on work,
yeah.
Right? Well, honestly, my passion project had to be a little suspended because of COVID, because it involves it involves being close to people. It's a body painting project. I don't paint my people. I invite people to come and tell me stories and feelings, and as they do that, they paint over my skin what they are feeling. And at the end of the day, it's like I'm helping people take out things that they couldn't put into words, maybe, or didn't have the courage to put into words with someone else. And that's something that really gets to me, because a lot of people come to me and talk about their problems for no reason. Like, we're friends, we don't know each other, and I was like, why does this happen?
Well, so you found a way now to channel that into something that you can show to people as a talent or a skill that's specific to you, and then that presents really well to an agency too.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to, because I forgot to mention at the beginning, but I also teach at school. I teach video storytelling, and I say that all the time, like, showing who you are is so important in your work, or, you know, if you can't do it in a sort of a more formal brief, do it in your personal projects, and we really try to encourage that at school. Because really it's about preparing people, not just for, you know, we always say it's not about a job, it's about a career in creativity. And your creativity now could be asking to take you to an agency to work with retail, but 5 years from now you could decide to become a film director, and then all the skills and all the stuff that you learn in these 2 years sort of come in handy then. I remember taking an audio class at school, and then so I launched a podcast last year just based on on the technical skills that I learned in an audio class that I took for 1 quarter. So I really just want to leave everyone with that message for everyone who's in the live from Bolivia, Guatemala, Buenos Aires, Brazil, that, you know, it's the school is just such a great place for you to think about your career for life as a creative person in the industry. Like, who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to bring out into this world? What do I want to put out there? It's so much about your personal journey as well. So do you want to add anything else, Chiche or Palma? Or
just Palma said well. I think Miami High School is the more similar school to the real life. I think I was teacher in a lot of schools in Argentina. Well, not a lot, all of them, 3.
Well, and for many years, you've been teaching for what, 20 years, right? You said almost
22 years. And here we have 3, the most important are 3. And I taught in all of them. So, and Miami High School, I think, is the best model. It's more similar, but you need to work much more than in the other school.
Yeah, because it's not about the grades. It's like all the students. It's your portfolio. It's what you want.
And it's not as I say, a parking school. A parking school is when you are going to park, no, to talk with your friends, okay, to talk her parents. Well, I'm studying, but it's like a meeting, no, with friends. But here you have to work, and we have classes with less people, no, maybe 12 persons, and you are exposed. You are more exposed than in a 40 people class, you know. Sure. So you have to work.
You have to learn how to present. You have to know a little bit about everything. You have to know how to present. You have to know how to pitch. You have to know sort of every aspect.
How you can stand in front of a 10 people class with nothing. It's very embarrassing. So I think
in Punta Cana we were 4.
Well, 4 or 5. I had courses of 5 also. The first year of the Miami Buenos Aires. So I think you have to make a really big effort.
you know, I have a lot of friends here in Dominican Republic. When I started Miami Ad School, they were like, oh, but you're new in this school. Why are you taking this so serious? Why don't you sleep? Why don't you go out with us? Because I totally, as Hanna said before, during the quarter, I had no life. I would work when I was working. At some point, towards the end, towards graduation, I said, okay, it's either work or Miami Ad School. And I obviously chose Miami Ad School because it was my future and my career. But at first, a lot of my friends didn't understand, like, why are you working so much? This is just school. And I'm like, guys, I can't.
It's my career.
I can't not do this because we are 4, including myself. So if I show up without the assignment, it's like you can do the assignment during the presentation. The others present first, and then you present last. First of all, I never present last.
No, and I want to say last thing in Spanish. But hoy por hoy, en publicidad, en todo el mundo, existe el mismo problema. Y el problema que existe es que no hay talento. No salen tantos nuevos talentos. No salen porque deciden dedicarse a otras cosas que sean publicidad, que en realidad está bueno porque muchos estudiantes de la Miami, los contenidos que tienen, los habilitan a trabajar en otras cosas que son mucho más que publicidad. Pero pasa en todos los ámbitos. En cada empresa que está vinculada a la publicidad o a la industria creativa, que es un poco lo que llamamos hoy, yo creo que los estudiantes de la Miami salen preparados para trabajar en la industria creativa. Digamos, puede ser en una agencia, puede ser una productora, lo que sea. Y lo que falta, un poco es talento y un poco es ganas. Ganas, que no tiene una traducción exacta en inglés, por eso lo quiero decir en castellano. Ganas, faltan ganas. Entonces, el que sale con un talento mediano, pero con unas ganas de comerse al mundo tremendas, llega. Porque lo que falta son ganas. Digamos, es una generación que se frustra muy rápido, digamos, y como que no lo intenta o dice, bueno, no soy para esto y me voy para otra cosa. Y la verdad que los que realmente insisten y son apasionados de esto, no importa si es brillante o si es más o menos, llega. Es así, llega. Y si está bien preparado, más va a llegar. O sea, nosotros de la Miami, de Buenos Aires, son cursos muy chicos, pero yo estoy seguro, nunca hicimos la estadística con Bernardo, pero yo creo que el 90% de los estudiantes están trabajando alrededor del mundo aparte. No solo en Argentina, porque han ido a otros lados, muchos eran de otros lados. Entonces realmente me parece que se tienen que dedicar y el que demuestre eso en su portfolio, en una entrevista, llega. No, y se los digo en serio, no hay error. Si realmente son apasionados, le ponen ganas, le ponen muchas horas y le ponen mucho esfuerzo, llegan y las puertas se les abren. ¿Por qué? Porque hay menos competencia que 20 años antes. O sea, si son buenos van a llegar y si tienen muchas ganas también. Es así, es lo que falta.
Totalmente. Hay en inglés, dice, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. O sea, 100%. Totalmente.
Very correct.
Así que bueno, nada, con estas
All
palabras,
right, guys.
como que me voy a ir a comer.
Yeah, she terminó perfectamente, gracias.
Claro, tengo que... Now I can dinner. So well.
Dinner. Everyone can dinner. Entonces, Cheches, thank you so much. Palma, thank you everyone who was here. Ivan, Guto, all the students, thank you so much. I hope it was like for me, it was a very rich conversation. And I know a lot of this stuff already because I was in the school, but I learned so much from you guys in our conversation. For everyone who stuck around, who was here from 8 p.m. until now, thank you so much. If you have any more questions, definitely let Michelle know or send an email to the schools, and there's always someone to get back to you guys and give you more information on any doubts you might have. So thank you so much, everyone. Okay. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.